Now, through the day, we've brought you coverage of marches in most of Australia's capital cities. Perth, because it's a couple of hours behind in terms of time zones, we hadn't brought you any shots from Perth yet, but the march is underway there now. So let's listen into the commentary on the Perth ANZAC Day Parade.
Squadrons, they're the double diamonds you see there, second commando, the double reds, and the second, fifth commandos, the double blacks. So these were people who trained in all about 12 squadrons went overseas. They served in Timor, New Guinea, New Britain, New Caledonia, Bougainville and Borneo. And there's currently a very good exhibition called Debt of Honour at the WA Museum, which I encourage people to see, on the story of the second commandos, but also the story of our roles in East Timor, right up to current days. Z Special, unit led by, we've got Scott Roffey, who's one of the flag bearers. It looks like Ted Dublin there. OAM, and this is the men of the original Z who served throughout the Southwest Pacific from Bougainville to Borneo, and they fought behind the enemy lines, disrupting communications, causing havoc to the morale of the enemy, gathering intelligence and working with the native population and looking for future landings and allies. So really a predecessor to, in fact, our special forces of today, Z Specials.
City of Coburn, pipes and drums. Band you saw just before wearing the Isle of Man tartan.
Australian, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I just have to mention the Australian Army Training Team Vietnam, because they're becoming smaller each year. They're actually celebrating their 50th anniversary of formation. The Australian Army Training Team, 4 Victoria Crosses awarded to that unit for Vietnam. They were the first in and last out. These were our small group of advisors who went in 1962 and served right through to the very end until 1972 when we came out. So Australian Army Training Team Vietnam, the West Australian Brigadier Russell Lloyd, OBE MC, was one of their COs from 1969 to 70. Headquarters, One Australian Task Force Association, led by Richard Barrow. We had 161 independent recce flight there, and there's our field hospitals. They were formed in South Vietnam in 1968 and saw sterling service right through that critical period. Then the 2nd 13th Field Ambulance, led by Damien Burke, the son of Lieutenant Colonel Fred Burke, late President and former Director of the Royal Australian Medical Corps. This unit served in Libya and Greece and Crete, Tobruk, Western Desert, and saw extensive service also on defence of Darwin. Royal Australian Army Ordnance Corps. So these people, they're the unsung heroes. They are the suppliers of the Australian Army's equipment, food, weapons and ammunition. Service across World War I, II, Korea, Malaya, Vietnam, Rwanda, Namibia, Somalia, Bougainville and East Timor, and of course into Afghanistan. It's like the Royal Australian Army Service Corps. And you can see the amalgamations there, Royal Australian Corps of Transport, all the amalgamations they've had along the way.
The City of Perth Brass Band, sounding terrific. Established right back in 1898.
So these are the RAME, Royal Australian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, led by Colonel Dave Whelan, Colonel Commandant Western Region. And RAME tradesmen. They kept all the military equipment serviceable in working order, from artillery guns, small arms weapons, heavy earth-moving equipment, down to maintenance of small cameras. RAME maintained it all at their workshops or in the field. They called, the nickname for them, Cleats, the Spanners.
And I've read amazing some of the things that they can do and where they can find parts to get things working as well.
Yes, I think they're the classic collectors and acquirers of things. They are incredibly useful people, I must say. So the Australian Army Women's Service, the Military Police Association is also on parade today, as is the Royal Australian Army Nursing Corps, the AWOS, Women's Royal Australian Army Corps, the RACs.
There's the Military Police Association.
Yes, with their service again throughout all our conflicts, right through from World War II to the present day in Afghanistan.
nursing corps there as well. Formed in WA in 1981, has branches in most states around the country. The Australian Red Cross, dedicated supporter of WA's Anzac Day ceremonies for right since the start, actually, back in 1914. We're still very involved today. Red Cross, the world's largest humanitarian organisation, more than 100 million volunteers worldwide, 60,000 members and volunteers in Australia. And then behind them, once again, the WA Police Pipe Band.
I think the Air Cadets on that one.
I beg your pardon?
I think it's just one of those ones where they dash around, Clint, and
you're right.
They've jumped in.
You can see them on the drums there.
So they're leading the Royal Australian Air Force Association WA division, which is following immediately behind the band. And you're going to get that today with the bands jumping in and out, of course. So the Royal Australian Air Force Association is led by Group Captain Ian Petkoff, AM retired. The RAF Association was formed in 1921 as the Australian Flying Corps Association, but after World War II became the Australian Flying Corps and Royal Australian Air Force Association. The state president is Mr. Graham Bland, and the RAF Association provides camaraderie and maintains tradition, security and care for all members of the division and other members of the veterans community through the provision of facilities and welfare services within Western Australia. Mick Michael, who was involved with the Fighter Squadrons Association and Number 3 Squadron, OAM, well known to us. So these are the fighter squadrons which cover the famous Kitty Hawk squadrons of 75, 76 and 77 Squadron, famous for their defence of Darwin and also for the famous Battle of Milne Bay. The Pathfinder Association, these were the elite bomber crews of Bomber Command, and they wore a distinctive emblem of an eagle, and you can see that on the lapel of that a serviceman there who's also wearing the Distinguished Flying Cross. The Leader of Opposition, Mark McGowan, with his Commendation for Gallantry ribbon up.
Amazing, the Pathfinders Association, 49% of this force didn't return.
Yeah, they were the absolute elite of Bomber Command, which was a tough mob in itself. Catalina Club of WA, and they wanted to particularly mention that on Anzac Days past, the Cats of Corley Bay have been mentioned, and they were the Americans from Patrol Wing 10 who patrolled the coast of WA. And sadly, these are some of the units that we won't see on parade in future Anzac Days as their number dwindled. But these flew the legendary Black Cat Catalinas into these massive missions lasting 20 hours into the Japanese defences, dropping mines and all sorts of reconnaissance work well up into Southeast Asia, well away from the bases in Perth.
Okay, that's live from Perth, the Anzac Day Parade through the heart of the city. It was great to see the City of Perth Brass Band. It's got a very long history, established way back in 1898. Now in our continuing Anzac Day coverage, let's go to the top end. Thousands of people turned out in Darwin this morning for the march. In the earlier commentary in the Adelaide March, we heard there were 63 odd bombing raids on Darwin by the Japanese in the Second World War. The people of this city had to deal with much during World War II, and that's been recognised earlier this year.